Hi everyone. I've been away for a time away, a little vacation, and so I did not record a sermon video from last Tuesday, and I didn't preach this past Sunday. So a little bit behind, but I'm going to share with you today the sermon that I preached about a week ago. It was back on the 1st of July, and it's the beginning of a series that's going to be taken from the Gospel of Mark, focusing upon Jesus' healing ministry and how we have a role to play in bringing healing and wholeness to the brokenness of the world in which we live, and the need to work on healing ourselves of our own brokenness. And so today's sermon is based on Mark chapter 5, verses 21 through 43. And I've entitled this message, Broken But Not Dead. And so I'm going to share with you first the scripture from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. Then one of the leaders of the synagogue named Jairus came, and when he saw him, fell at his feet and begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, so that she may be made well and live." So he went with him. And a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. For she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, some people came from the leader's house to say, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the leader of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." He allowed no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the house of the leader of the synagogue, he saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. When he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make a commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside, and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl got up and began to walk about. She was 12 years of age. At this they were overcome with amazement. He strictly ordered them not that no one should know this, and told them to give her something to eat. What was your life like 12 years ago? It was 2006. In that year, there was an earthquake in Indonesia that killed 6,600 people. Julian Assange started WikiLeaks. North Korea conducted its first nuclear test. And NASA revealed photographs that suggested liquid water on Mars. It was halfway through George Bush's second term. My boys were not yet teenagers. I was beginning my appointment at a church in Cincinnati. Where were you? What was your family like 12 years ago? Your life? And think about all that has happened since 2006. We went through the Obama years. We endured the Great Recession and have come through on the other side, for the most part. Twitter has become a primary means of communication from pop stars to presidents. My boys are all teenagers now, with one out of high school. How has your family changed? What are some of the big events you have experienced since 2006? I know that the length of time doesn't change. Time doesn't speed up or slow down. Still, it seems to me that the older I get, the faster time moves. That said, 2006, 12 years ago, may seem like a long time ago for you. Then again, maybe it doesn't seem that long ago at all. I guess it depends on your perspective. For the woman with a hemorrhage, 12 years must have felt like a long time. Can you women even fathom having a menstrual discharge for 12 straight years? Imagine 2006 being the year this began for you, all the way up to this very day. All that lost blood. This woman must have been anemic and alarmingly underweight. Surely her bodily organs were compromised. We don't know how old she is, but we can guess that because of her illness, she has not been able to bear children. It wouldn't be surprising if her husband has left her. But not just that. Because of her condition, she would be considered ritually unclean, and thus unable to enter the temple for worship. Any person that touched her would be ritually unclean. Anywhere she sits would be unclean. This would have been for her not only 12 years of bodily discomfort and suffering, but also a period marked by abandonment. And to top it all off, she had spent all her money on physicians who were ineffective. In fact, she was worse off than when she started going to doctors. 12 long years of misery. But for Jairus and his daughter, 12 years wasn't long at all. Here was his baby girl, having just made it to the critical stage in her life when she would experience her bat mitzvah and become a daughter of the commandment, entering into young womanhood. And she is lying on her deathbed. It is way too soon to lose your child. No parent should have to bury their own children, and especially a young child. And it's one thing to lose your child when she is a baby, or even a toddler, but 12 years is enough time to have lots of memories, to build a close relationship, to see your child grow and develop and become a young woman. To only have 12 years with your daughter and then to have her taken from you, that's not enough time. It's too soon. Whether 12 years seemed a long time or a short time, both the woman and Jairus found themselves in a similar condition and had a few things in common. They were desperate. They believed Jesus could heal, and they would not be denied. They were desperate. The woman with her chronic condition had tried all that medical science could provide, and nothing worked. The hemorrhage had taken such a toll on her body. Her social isolation must have been unbearable. Surely she can't take this much longer. She is desperate to be healed. Jairus, about to lose his daughter to death, is also desperate. He doesn't want to lose his daughter, but he is running out of time. It may already be too late. He needs his daughter healed right now. They both believed that Jesus could heal. The woman had heard about Jesus, about his healing power. She had tried everything else and nothing worked. Maybe Jesus could heal her. She had to make her way to Jesus, to put herself in his path and hope that she can get her healing. Jairus had also heard about Jesus' power to heal. Sure, he taught some things that got him in trouble with some of his fellow religious leaders. He sometimes rubbed his colleagues the wrong way. But he also could heal. Raise someone from the dead? Doubtful. But maybe he could get to his daughter in time before she perished. Jesus was his only hope. Finally, they would not be denied. Jesus and his disciples were surrounded by a crowd, and they were in a tight space. Everyone was pushing and shoving as they were making their way. But the crowd parted a little bit as Jairus himself approached Jesus and fell at his feet. He would not send one of his people to get Jesus' attention. No, Jairus had to go himself. He would use the full weight of his prestige in a public display to plead for Jesus to come heal his daughter. He got Jesus' attention, and Jesus agreed to go with him. So the crowd begins to make its way toward Jairus' house, moving along as fast as possible because they knew that time was not on their side. The girl could die any minute. They had to hurry. Jairus used his privilege as a religious leader to get the crowd to part a little so he could get in front of Jesus and let him know about his emergency. But the woman with the hemorrhage had no such privilege. If she was going to get to Jesus, she would have to push her way through a crowd that was moving away from her. But she would not be denied. She pushed and shoved her way toward the back of Jesus, making each person she touched ritually impure without them knowing it, probably. Her relentless pursuit gets her close enough that she can reach out her hand to touch the fringe of Jesus' cloak, and that was enough. Healing energy flowed from Jesus into the woman's body, and she could feel from her inside that she was healed. Jesus didn't even know she was pursuing her. He only knew something powerful that happened because he felt it. Not the tug of his cloak, for he was being pushed about in the crowd. It was the energy that went out of him. He knew he had been healed, that he had healed someone without knowing who he had healed. Jesus had to hold everything, in spite of the clock ticking on the life of Jairus' daughter, to find out who he had healed. Falling on her knees before Jesus, the woman had the floor, proclaiming before everyone what Jesus had done for her. Her public witness ended her 12 years of suffering and social isolation. She was not only healed of her blood flow, but also able to reclaim her place in the community she had lost all those years ago. Now, admittedly, these two healing miracles are just that, miracles. They were uniquely possible because of the physical presence of Jesus. There are many people in the world today who have just as much faith as the woman and Jairus, who in similar circumstances do not receive a dramatic and instant healing or have their daughter brought back to life. I do not say that miracles such as these never happen. I believe miracles do happen, and anything is possible. But miracles can't be counted on, nor can miracles be the foundation of our faith and hope. We must not be naive and sentimental about how healing works with Jesus. Not everyone with faith experiences physical healing. Tragedy is something that people of faith can experience. Not every story has a happy ending. And of course, we will all die, no matter how much faith we have in Jesus to heal. These stories of healing we hear about this morning are not so much about the faith of the woman and of Jairus, although that is part of it. They both had faith Jesus could heal, and were desperate enough to have that faith because they saw no other option. But these healing miracles are more about revealing who Jesus is as the Son of God. They testify to his power. It's just naive to think that all you have to do is have faith that Jesus can heal you, and that's that. Not everyone with faith gets healed. Young people die, no matter how much faith in Jesus their parents might have. Still, there is something we can take from these miracles that can serve us through times of suffering and death, either the death of someone we love, the deaths of strangers in newsrooms or high school campuses, or any other tragedies we experience. When Jairus was told that his daughter had died, Jesus said, "Do not be afraid, only believe." There's power in that. Jairus was given factual information. His daughter was dead. But the subtext of that statement, the narrative behind it, was, Jesus can't help you now. It's hopeless. It's that narrative that Jesus came into this world to refute. See, in this life, no matter how bad things get, Jesus can always help us. Because of Jesus, we always have hope. If we would but believe that to be so. It is belief, trust, faith that Jesus is our help in time of need. That in Jesus there is an abundant hope. It is this belief that gets us through the tough times. It is this belief that even can help us heal from the hurts and cuts that life brings us. I suspect for each one of us in the years since 2006, some things have happened in your life that you need healed from. Maybe it is a chronic physical condition. Maybe it is a strained or broken relationship. Maybe your heart continues to hurt after the passing away of someone you dearly love. Surely over a 12-year period, something has happened to you that needs healing. I think that as we bring to mind even those points of hurt, injury, illness, brokenness, that Jesus would say to you and me, do not be afraid, only believe. No quick fix, no instant healing, and maybe the healing never fully realizes in this life. But faith in Jesus does make it possible for you and me to keep moving forward, moving toward our own healing, if we not be afraid and believe in Jesus. 12 years from now will be 2030. We will be at the beginning of the third decade of the 21st century. Imagine how much healing and hope will be needed for the next 12 years. Not just in your own life or that of your family, but of this nation and of this world. As we open our eyes wider and look around us, and particularly on the body that is the United States, we find countless wounds, and we hear the cries from street corners, detention centers, prison cells, drug houses, and sweatshops. We live in a time perhaps closing in on desperation, a time that demands of us not to be afraid and to only believe in the power of Jesus to heal. This kind of faith will be required of us for the next 12 years and beyond. Friends, now is the time to believe that Jesus can heal. And then, like the woman and like Jairus, it is time to pursue Jesus, to push through the crowd and noise, the distractions, the provocateurs perpetuating hate and division, and the false hopes of discredited ideology, and pursue Jesus. Reach out to Jesus, touch Jesus, the one who is found among the least of these, the one who is found among the discarded and dismissed, the one who is found in the halls of power and privilege. Jesus is everywhere and is ready to bring about healing, if we but reach out and point others to his healing presence. No one is without Jesus. No one is without hope. There is so much healing work that we all need to be about doing, and I don't see it letting up anytime soon. Even as we turn to Jesus and reach out to be healed from our past, let us be encouraged that Jesus, our healer, will be with us in the years ahead. As long as we are alive, there is hope. And even when we reach life's end on this earth, faith, hope, and love endure. So we must press forward with our faith in Jesus, our hope in God, and the Spirit of love working her way through all we think and do. Now is the time to persevere. I read of someone meeting her Lyft driver to go somewhere, and he asked her how she was doing. She said fine, and asked him how he was doing. He said, broken, but not dead. Broken, but not dead. Isn't that true for all of us? We are all broken, and we live in a broken church, located in a broken city, in a broken nation, on a broken world. But we are not dead, and so we live and move and do healing work with hope. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video of the sermon that I preached this past Sunday last, the 1st of July. I hope you found it meaningful and encouraging as we do healing work in this broken world. If you have not yet, I would encourage you to click on the subscribe button at the bottom of this video, and then you can click the little bell next to it, and that will give you a notification whenever I upload another video. So thanks again for watching. Until next time, I wish that you would be well. Bye-bye.